Rodney Park. John Congress, Town of Michigan Shores.
Present.
Emerson, Lake County Surveyor.
Here.
Anthony Ferraro, Governor's Appointee, Town of Maryville.
Present.
Present.
Huddleston, City of Hobart. Lori Hunt, Dunes.
Present.
Philip Kuiper, Town of Lowell. Lori Latham, City of Gary.
Present.
Present.
Tom McDermott, City of Town of Munster. Angie, Lake County Council.
Present.
Courtney Partoon, City of Town of La Crosse. Tom Schmidt, Town of Cherville.
Here.
City of Whiting. Jim Tunn, Town of Chesterton.
Present.
Right on the money, we're at 27.
Oh, let them.
Will bring us to public comment on current. Would you like to say 18th, 2026? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Finances and personnel, or as a finance and personnel, April and May of 2026. April and May of 26. We also had a very. We appreciate Mr. Ferraro. There are 3 action items for the IRS Roth mandate, a regional safety favorable for approval, and the Mission Square 457.
The 457 retirement went into effect in 2022. Have reached, NERC is now time a catch-up contribution with this new Secure 2, or is between 60 and 63. Any catch-up contribution did not have that as part of our plans forward.
I said this in the committee meeting, and I'm just being in compliance with the new law.
What? I have a question.
And when you reach the extra catch-up amount, give you an additional amount. I'm assuming it's because yes, you have the ability to add.
But does it only affect people that make 150,000?
Late summer. That was noted in the leadership committee is that this contract, so Attorney Hollenbeck can take a
From our discussion, but also for those communities that are already participating in Safe Streets for All, you know that there are, we don't call it rounds, right? But there are steps in the process.
Correct. So
this is essentially a grant to create the action plan that then we apply.
that is correct. So step one, you have to of a safety action in Northwest Indiana funding for specific prerequisite type of
And then Matt?
Good morning. Plus, we've had some torrential rains and heavy rains, and we've had a bit of a high water on the Borman. I think I mentioned that last month as well. We're working with the Henry and Little Cal River Basin to kind of mitigate some of that stuff with some ditching and some other things they're doing with ponds too. So just to be aware that we continue to work on that issue. But we are working through some of those challenges, the rains as we've had recently too. I did get some questions about our Flex Road project using variable speed limits. So that was one of the quality and safety there too. So I'm not too concerned about that. But you've seen plenty of barrels and concrete barriers, but
First of all, comment. They come from the Atlantic Ocean from Hurricane Ike.
Yep.
And Northwest Indiana, but
Sure.
flooded the Borman real bad.
Yep.
What do you want to see like?
Project is progressing. Off the top of my head, I don't know, but I can find out and get back to you.
All right.
Figuring it out, but so with the issue failed numerous times, and I'm not blaming anybody. It's flooded on both sides, and then all those cars going. One time, it was 2 a.m. State police, the fact, and it was literally 12 hours of just gridlock. Or I've been married 23 years before. It's got to be fixed because it's a quality of life issue. So.
Failing is not the full story of that. There was just a lot of saturation of the land that we didn't come out. There's some mixed reporting on that issue, what really happened. Since then, to better our communication and solve some problems we've had. that's part of the reason why I work with Dan Rife and Little Cal River Basin is that we're solving those problems.
No,
That's
that's
part of
a
what
fact, what
happened.
you're saying.
So I don't envision that.
It does seem like it's unique though. We've had a lot of heavy rain over the years, but it's.
Any questions?
I heard it was the best meeting in New York City history.
Well,
I was nervous, my being there, not being there is what made.
anyway, several presentations, including Selena's presentation because it's very informative and now.
Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Selena Green. I'm an Economic Recovery Corps Fellows throughout the country administration to support the capacity of local communities to access in their regions. And so I've been here for then implementing strategies for brownfield redevelopment and for quantum industry and other advanced tech industries. We've had some extension of the support, so I'll be here through the end of. So again, I appreciate the opportunity to have been here and work with many of you as we move forward. Attraction to the Quantum Corridor. Again, it's part of a nationwide identifying priority brownfield sites within the primarily on northern Lake County communities of Gary, Hammond, East Chicago. And so we're really supporting the goals of economic diversification, quantum development and attracting that industry. We're growing that industry cluster here. Again, with site reuse, creating opportunities for field redevelopment and cleanup, and focusing on underutilized property. So among the activities that we engaged in was community and stakeholder and prioritization throughout those 4 cities. We had national experts come here as Economic Recovery Corps and at other industry events such as National Association of Regional Councils, ours, and research for funding opportunities and supporting applications for redevelopment funds as well. We're around ambiguous ownership and site control, work with brownfield sites or just the basis potential for displacement, potential appropriate for reuse. And then lastly, the main findings were with that the land can be an asset, not a this is really a great opportunity for advanced coordinated pipeline of getting sites ready, or a lot of sites just get stuck in limbo, they never get moved forward to any regional organizations that operating in adjacent magnitude of the brownfield challenges that we have. Also, we in the space of CDFIs or community development financial institutions, we met trust and a one as it relates to tech infrastructure, but to build trust and build capacity to understand these tools that I've been working on are brownfield site profiles, again, analysis of what actors we have in the region and where brown is using AI-powered tools for, and we know that technology can really help this, and also really look at developed or party challenge, and that needs to be changed. Small developers, so that easily supports small developers in their communities, both the quality of place and the availability of new developments. And then lastly, AI sets, they have a challenge of just understanding, and so there really is work of the sensible tools that they're connected to the other ready-made available data. So the research is done next 3 months. So really working to fill in additional funding so for the next to have supported your work in this next 3 months, concluding the project and continuing some of the implementation. But you can reach me at this Northwest Indiana Forum for having me and allow.
3, if that's okay. Maybe not questions, but, like a politician question, planning councils and total, but to start, I mean, this is a national discussion going on. I mean, we went into that conference and it felt down until I went to Tulsa and met with other mayors and other versions to Congress, or at least we went over that as a part or assess questions about if we had an actual specific say to the mayor not being paid by the developer. You're never going to win everybody over. Tulsa, there seemed to be a big push of MPOs might be the best position to be able to assess individual risks and I said, well, we should probably have that discussion. I guess my first question is, do you feel like this direction you're going at this point really, because I just remember the draft being presented at one of the meetings at the conference.
that.
So, in that having an Economic Recovery Corps fellow, but doesn't have any, I guess, stakes, that neutral party and entity that can support, again, understanding, capacity development opportunities, and also leveraging things like American Planning Association, national decisions, and doing so in a way. So I think that this does fit very well, but I'm willing to have a conversation about you want to publish this or do something like that.
Sure. But as he said, not too terribly long ago, I was going to talk a little bit more about that later on. Just before that, and what I was really struck by is how she didn't go into it. What I was really struck by is how she didn't go into it so much today, except touched on it today. And when I saw what she did, it's like, this needs more of a national audience. So invited her to be on one of the panels that was happening in Tulsa. And as much as in a national audience, You really did. She had the actual data, examples, what communities should do, should be thinking about, how to maximize. I know that's extremely controversial and all the rest.
Accurate information and some groups to speak into this in a.
Thank you. And it leads kind of perfect to my second, which I'll try to be shorter. Oh, would you like to my second, which I'll try to be shorter. Oh, would you like to go?
Yeah, if I could just make a
Go ahead,
comment,
yeah.
I attended the one meeting. It was not a sales.
That's what
It
we
was not a
needed,
sales
too.
type of presentation. It was, here are the facts, here in front, instead of trying to catch up at the end.
Yeah.
There were a few municipalities that were represented. There was a lot of economic development people, I think, that were in attendance, but I thought it was a really great meeting tonight at the White Community Center in Maryville. I think 5:30
5 to 8.
5 to 8.
So my second, and Ty, you did a great job explaining. And for the record, the resolution draft that was talked about in one meeting at the conference, it was to take it on. Because I think that if we're, the decision to take it on would be even better if we got extra money to help us pay for that, rather than get a little bit more political, but only accidental to start, the process here. One of the things we're doing in Portage, as I said right now, is we're creating a new zoning classification for data centers, but it's actually a technology campus zoning classification. We've included other uses, some of which are, for example, and I might be dreaming about the idea of that coming to Northwest Indiana, let alone coming to Portage. Biotech lab, what have you. If I could compare it to a gas station, I might be wrong, but I feel like if somebody's looking to make a new gas station and necessarily think that they would find our standards to be that different. There might be some individual, I'm guessing the same of those local, standards or the general. We also don't really have a lot of uniformity that probably at Northwest Indiana, a semiconductor, a bio lab, and I feel like it would be better. Your study is going to help produce. We had a great discussion after our last stuff, the zoning classification. You passed a data center on a classification, and what we talked about is, and I think you liked our idea of a different classification in the future. I think,
About possible, I'm certain to drop an industrial PUD out there. Down without
wanting to start each of our cities have invest Prairie McDermott. I could call up Merrick, help us kind of all meet in a very public fashion of what are the standards we're all looking
There are codes that you could use as you develop that. So.
Community such as Chesterton did got caught in the middle of it, guidelines, recommendations ahead of time, rather than having to fight the issue after. One of the most that I've been through in its degree of unpleasantness.
Well, and I appreciate that, and I would say too, just to kind of add to it, let's school bus, the thing that makes the time travel on the bus work. You can tell I used to be a teacher, but the proposal that Chesterton and Portage might both want, right? I mean, I would love it in a perfect world. I'm sure a developer would, not which council or which mayor or town on the best location. It has caused a lot of friction, but at the same time, I don't know if I'll get in trouble, makes a lot of sense. Let's not make it about a data center. Let's say that you've got a factory in Illinois with no decision yet that you've made, right? It's the right move. You might use an NDA. Individual business owners might disagree, right? Not with NDAs, but Walt Disney creating a bunch of little fake companies to buy land so nobody knew he was buying it. I say that because we have to, which is very important.
Getting back to this presentation, I represent South Lake County, the largest zoning on a data center, and we have very robust regulations to folks like myself and County Surveyor Emerson. We attest to this, that why are they choosing farmland to build on, right? Do all this environmental remediation, there's not a bunch of redevelopment costs. He likes it. So is this study geared towards kind of answering some of those questions? County, you have, if you just look at a GIS, you say, well, and then you've got a huge amount of through the generation aspect and create this sort of activity that can be applied broadly. Principles at that point, where that question, things that I mentioned as part of a package, then it gives East Chicago a chance to apply.
This was active in soul and yes, having actionable strategies that will have more in-depth strategies that you can act on and recommendations as well.
With you,
yes,
to make this a
financing associations and institutions that specialize in brown practices that communities can adopt, and that's.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mary,
I know we have time.
Oh, I have no leverage really. I signed the NDA. Is when a data centers are pulling like in Northwest Indiana up and says, yeah, go somewhere.
One of the things that came up that's not requiring apparently NDA, away from even asking for incentive. Take up time.
But the regions also that in your development agreements close and have some process of how industry diversification, that types of industries for your region, industries or clusters, quantum, industrial properties, and it happens to be.
Lori, I'd like to go ahead.
I just wanted the source, and I don't believe that it's worth building.
I'll be brief because a lot of what you just said lists decommissioning as part of an ordinance, but as the key thing we all should be looking at, we got to make sure that about regional in Northwest. I think that I don't think that that matched apparently, but the thing about it is it's so abandoned sites, or at least the kind of thing, and it didn't need to. I think that from taking advantage of us.
I'd like to make another point prior to environment.
Will bring us to, so go ahead, keep going.
For the governor Indiana Dunes Tourism was there, and she mentioned things for the traffic situations, like you get people in the land use and housing development. That's where we like all the people to come, is to and we also have people from other representative, minority group representative come to see where the sausage is.
Thank you to our workshop and presentation from staff. Thank you to our workshop and presentation from staff about this is a program that's meant for green spaces. Our office has been successful. Green spaces. Our office has been successful. But we have a aware of it, that the anything that benefits the local, aware of it, that anything that benefits the local watershed environment, and why the community where the project is located needs the investment outcomes the project provides. So if you get that word out to your
Quickly, just to piggyback on the mention, just to underscore, Justin Key, immediate past president, but his service on that national body, immediate past president, but his service on that national body
Calumet Region Task Force, a couple weeks of that, Calumet Region
Progress, city, right,
and Mr. Carnahan. You give me a face like, wait,
100 fires up in Canada.